Are good? We're streaming. Okay, guys, let's we've only got 5 bills on the list, so we're gonna start with that. Let's start with 437. So if you just to refresh everybody's memory, this has to do with the membership of the ZEVIC, the zero emission electric vehicle. And when we voted this, we voted to conform the House bill to the Senate bill, and the House bill membership was slightly different. In fact, I think you recall there was like one more environmental representative. Okay, after further reflection, Senator Quarterman, in consultation with would really like us to actually now just go with conform to the. We want the House version, and so what we need to do is to sort of, I think process-wise, Daria, to reconsider that and then send it right on 437. And is there a second on that?
Second.
And then what this will mean is if we now move favor, then it's a straight up favorable vote on the House bill. We would take that to clean, correct? Second, okay. Any discussion on 437? You got that, Dara, process-wise? All in favor of 437 clean? Favorable without amendments, raise your hand. Okay, that carries unanimously. And just process-wise, Dara, we taken this back to the floor. Now it's just going to be a straight up favorable report, correct? We don't have to do any because it was actually on the floor and it's back. Okay, we're good. Let's go to another bill that was a cross-file of a Senate bill that we passed, I believe, unanimously. House Bill 545 is cross-file Senator Zucker's bill, which we've already taken up in this committee. So just refresh everybody's House Bill 545, just refresh everybody's memory about what that bill does.
House Bill 545, Janet L. Hoffman Loan Assistance Repayment Program, Nancy Grasmick Public School Professional Award, Public School Nurses. This bill expands eligibility for the Nancy Grasmick Public School Professional Award to include public school nurses with 2 years of experience who provide health services in a public school and are employed by a local school system or a local health department to provide health services through an agreement with a local board of education. The bill also expands the requirements of the Maryland Higher Education Commission to publicize the program to include doing so to eligible public school nurses in an effort to recruit and retain nurses working in public schools in the state. There are no amendments.
Again, this is a cross-file of a bill that we passed unanimously. Favorable from Senator Augustine, second from Vice Chair Kagan. Any discussion on House Bill 545? Okay, all in favor of 545? Oh, I'm sorry, apologize. Senator Lewis Young, you had a question? I apologize.
A question.
Sure.
Last year, the governor had a pretty comprehensive bill to attract and retain educators. I had a bill that actually passed through this committee that expanded the Janet Hoffman Loan Program to counselors and therapists, and I thought school nurses, and that was rolled into the governor's bill. Are we sure that the bill that passed last year doesn't already include public school nurses?
Pretty sure it doesn't, because it wouldn't be in they wouldn't draft it if it was already in there.
And also, I think this may have come up even earlier. Again, the Zucker bill already passed through your cross-file.
Okay.
And then it's already, yeah. So I kind of feel like that first time around with the Zucker cross-file.
It says mental health professionals, but did not include public school nurses.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor of a favorable motion on House Bill 545, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. We've had this Guyton Bill 1147 on the list previously. I think it's time for us to take this one up. Okay, Dara, why don't you refresh our memory on or tell us about the bill?
House Bill 1147, Environment, Playground Surfacing Materials Prohibitions. This bill prohibits, beginning October 1st, 2024, a person from installing, supplying, selling, soliciting, or offering for sale in the state playground surfacing materials that contain more than 90 parts per million of lead or a component, product, material, or substance to which PFAS chemicals were previously intentionally added in the formation of that component, where the continued presence of the PFAS chemicals was desired in the component to provide a specific characteristic. The bill establishes provisions relating to certificates of compliance for manufacturers. Local governments may adopt more stringent standards. The bill applies only prospectively. There are no amendments. There's no opposition.
We have a favorable motion and a second on House Bill 1147. Questions? Yes, Senator Gallion.
I was just looking at the bill folder on this one. There looks like MML and Mako.
So both the Maryland Municipal League and MACO had signed up unfavorably.
Now they're neutral, or
Now they are both neutral. Maryland Municipal League's opposition was addressed. Well, for both of them, the opposition was addressed in amendments made in the House.
okay.
So they've confirmed to me that they no longer oppose it.
So have there been an issue with children getting sick at playgrounds, and we're trying to fix this? This because it's all perspective, right? It's not.
Yes. Yep.
Has there been this major issue that we're trying to fix here? Playgrounds? Is there any data on that? Were we given anything to?
I believe I don't know the figures off the top of my head. I believe favorable testimony did provide some information on.
Okay, I was just curious.
Further questions? Again, we're on House Bill 1147. And there was a motion and a favorable. Okay, in favor of House Bill 1147, raise your hand. Is there opposition? Okay, we've got Senator Gallion is a red. Otherwise, the bill does carry with one red vote. Let's go to 1195 from Delegate Polakovich Carr. House Bill 1195, Stacy.
House Bill 1195, Childcare Providers, Anaphylactic Food Allergies, Guidelines and Indemnity, Elijah's Law. This bill requires the Maryland State Department of Education and the Maryland Department of Health to jointly develop guidelines to reduce the risk of exposure to anaphylactic major food allergens in childcare settings. There's no amendments.
Okay, Vice Chair Kagan moves favorable on House Bill 1195. Is there a second? Second from Senator Brooks. Discussion? All in favor of House Bill 1195, raise your hand. All opposed, 1195 carries. Let's go to the final bill on our list, House Bill 420. Darren?
House Bill 420, State and Local Parks, Play Area Accessibility, Recreation Communication Boards Pilot Program. This bill establishes a Maryland Recreation Communications Board pilot program administered by the Department of Natural Resources to provide funding for the purchase and installation of communication boards in play areas in states and local parks. The INOR may use up to $100,000 from the Park System Capital Improvements and Acquisition Fund to fund the program. The department is required to submit an interim report and final report to the General Assembly, including an evaluation of the pilot program. There is no opposition. There are no amendments.
Okay, no opposition, no amendments on House Bill 420. We got favorable from Senator Watson, second from Vice Chair Kagan. Questions, comments? All in favor of House Bill 420, raise your hand. All opposed, that carries, and that completes this list. We do have, we're going to take up a few, I'm going to turn to you, Alexis. Got a few folks, I think, matters that we want to do what we would characterize as pre-concurrences. If we take it up now, then of course we don't have to come back here. Yes, Stacy. Okay, well, let's start with Stacy and then we'll go to Alexis. What and is this a pre-concurrence or an actual concurrence? Okay, so this is an actual concurrence. Okay.
So this is House Bill 1219, Public and Non-Public Middle and High Schools, Venue-Specific Emergency Action Plans for Athletic Facilities, the Bailey-Bullock Act. In general, HB 1219 requires each public middle and high school to include a cardiac emergency response plan as a component of its venue-specific emergency action plan for athletic facilities. The Senate amendment struck provisions relating to non-public schools. The sponsor does not want to keep that, so the motion would be to recede on the Senate amendments.
Okay, we have anybody want to move to recede? Recede. Senator Augustine moves to recede. Is there a second from Senator Brooks? Okay, questions for Stacy on House Bill 12?
Yes.
Okay. We can take a roll call on this one. So that is the change. And the motion is to recede. And Lamoria, let's take a roll call on this one, just so everybody's on the record on this.
All right, Senator Kagan.
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine.
Yes.
Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Gallion.
No.
Senator Gallion, no. Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young.
Yeah.
Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Brooks.
Yes.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Cardoza, Senator Cardoza, no. Senator Hester.
Yes.
Senator Hester, yes. Senator Washington.
Yes.
Senator Washington, yes. Senator Simon Senator Simon no. Senator Feldman.
Yes, the motion carries 8-3. Stacy, do we have is there a pre-concurrence possibility on the election recount bill? Or you don't?
I don't know, I don't have any paperwork or anything on it. I just, I mean, you can, if that's what you want to do, you can do that.
Well, so let me go to the vice chair. Can you just, for the committee's benefit,
Yeah, so
explain what the House did and all that kind of thing?
the House Committee, Ways and Means Committee, in working with Jared Demarinis and frankly, the Montgomery County Board of Elections, tweaked the recount bill that passed this committee and the Senate unanimously. It's really updating the technology and including the internet delivered ballots that we've talked about so much this year. I'm okay with the amendments. I think it was fine the way we left it, but we don't have time. And so I suggest that we pre-concur with the House version.
Okay, what's the bill number?
That is a totally fair question.
Yeah,
It
You
was
know,
on,
I-
that's fine. If
I
you're not,
I
if
think
you're not
people,
comfortable
I think
with
there's
it,
a little
that's fine.
unease, so let's
That's
let's hold off on that. Okay, let's go to Alexis. We've got a few bills. I think one of them is Senator Hester, the IT bill. Is that
And
one?
that's correct. I also have a
And then
couple of
enough
holdovers.
act,
Mhm.
a couple holdovers.
Yep,
Okay, let's start with the holdovers and then
Okay.
we'll just go through. These are
concurrence.
actual concurrences, not pre-concurrences, correct?
Right, this one
Okay.
is a actual concurrence. The
Okay.
ones later are pre-concurrences.
Okay, so we'll start with the actual concurrences.
All right, this is reviving the conversation on SB 448, study on African-American Civil War soldiers in Maryland. Didn't come to a consensus on whether we wanted to maintain the bill's reversion to a commission to study African-American Civil War soldiers, or if we wanted to maintain the Senate's position in keeping the bill as a study. The length of time is the same. The memberships are, the membership is comprised of about the same individuals. However, the commission involves representatives and senators from the General Assembly on board. But most of the bill, regardless of if it's a commission or a study, is about the same.
Sure, so Senator Augustine.
There's a House bill and there's a Senate bill.
Yes,
What is the status of the House bill?
House bill is before us.
Is that all that we're talking about right now?
We're talking about the Senate bill, but we're not even considering the House bill at
Okay, so the
this
House
time.
bill is not passed the two chambers in the same
That's right.
posture. So the only opportunity for this to get through is that we're using the Senate bill as the conversation. item.
That's right.
Right,
I
Senate
just
Bill
wanted to understand
448, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the House's posture at this point, just to reiterate, is the commission or the
The House's position, which we had, the Triple E has in its possession, is a commission.
original version, basically?
Yes,
They've
as introduced.
gone back to the original version as introduced. I'm
Right.
sorry, they've stayed on the original
Right. When
version.
when the House bill came to the Senate, it wasn't amended to a study. It maintained the commission posture.
Okay, so the question on the table is, do we concur? And Vice Chair Kagan, we'll just take questions and
Alexis, I don't particularly care between commission, work group, task force, whatever. If it's doing the same thing, I think that's irrelevant.
Mhm.
One thing you hadn't mentioned was the one
Substantive
location
change.
versus could be
Right.
more than one location.
No, that's
Could
right.
you- Okay, so the Senate amended it to say more than one location, and the House stripped that out
Right.
and said there shall be only one location.
That's right. When
And
it
we were
reverted it.
clear that the flexibility was what we preferred.
okay, so there's two issues different, commission versus study and one location versus the flexibility of multiple. So that's what I think we're confronted with here.
Yep.
Whatever the will of the committee is.
I'll speak one more time.
Sure.
on it. I prefer what we did. I do. But I'm fearful at this point that it's just not, they're not going to agree, and I'm comfortable with what they've done, although I feel like we did something better. That's just kind of where I kind of fall in on this. So
I will at least put it out there so we can have a conversation and move to concur.
Okay. Is there a second?
Or is it receive? Or is it still?
It's a motion to concur.
Is it a
Right,
concur?
we would.
Right,
if-
we're
if
concurring
we-
with the way they
Reversion to a
changed our
commission.
bill. They
To
took our Senate
Back to
bill,
the original.
Mhm.
Yeah.
basically, yeah. So, yes, Senator Washington, let me just, at this point, maybe this is too simplistic, but the reality is for today, when we're faced with motion to concur, not to concur, if we move not to concur, let's be candid, that is, in effect, the writing on the wall. So, as we think about back to Senator Augustine's point, yes, Senator Washington, you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I just have a question. Are there any appropriations associated with creating the commission or conducting?
Yes,
it?
so I
Okay.
think as introduced, it was 75,000 and the study is actually, let me double check before I. So the study version, which is what the Senate passed, would be $86,000. And the commission, I think, was less than that. We're not near the threshold for B&T approval, but I think we're talking about a 20% difference. Not to remind myself of which one was more. If you give
Yeah,
me
and
1 second.
and thank you. I guess I'm saying, is there an appropriation of $75,000 in the text, a mandated appropriation?
Oh.
Or is that the cost? Is that the fiscal note? Like which?
Oh, right, it's not a mandate. That's
Right,
just how
okay, so
much
there's no money
will
to do
cost.
it. And then we have a commission on African-American history and culture. And so that was, my concern, that didn't feel like it's necessary to create another commission. So that's why I'm inclined to not recede. One, there's no money to do. Just want to say, just the reality, I think we just have to sort of check, like the
Okay,
reality, is
There's no
that
receding here. It's either
Okay.
move to concur or not
either
concur. Right.
right. So, and again, I'll go with folks, but there's no money to do the, so think, well, what's not going to happen? There's no money to do the study. We have a commission for African-American history and culture. We could write a letter or encourage support for our existing entity to do that. Additionally, in terms of our preference that there be flexibility in terms of where it might be located or how it might be done, our existing commission on African-American history and culture would have a better sense, I would hope, the sense they currently operate the museum, the African-American Museum, and another entity. So that's where I am with it. So I'm inclined to not concur.
And I will say, if it's helpful, that for both, there is either a consultation with the commission or they're a member on the commission if the bill maintains the posture of a commission. They'll be on it. If it's a study, they'll consult with them.
So what's interesting about the consultation is that it's just a list of every history organization in the state, and these are not entities that are specifically focused on, African-American history and culture. So that was also something I noticed. So.
Okay, was there a second on the motion to concur? I can't recall. There was a motion to concur, looking for a second. Okay, well, second, Senator, are you seconding it or? Okay, and then, then we could do a motion to not concur, or we could do nothing. We can, your process wise. A second on what? Motion to concur
Not to concur?
or to? Okay, okay, so we do have an actual motion to concur in a second. And I guess just process wise, if we do a roll call and it fails, do we then have to do a motion to not concur as part of the process, or I don't just.
Motion to concur fails, then yes.
It's
you would
deemed
have
to be,
not
is it
concur.
deemed to be a
Yes.
motion to not concur?
You could do nothing. You could
Okay.
absolutely not even respond if that's.
Okay, guys, I think at this point, we're gonna, it's up or down, motion to concur. And if that fails, it's essentially, I don't think we need to do anything else, but the motion's on the table. And anybody else want to speak to it? We've got Vice Chair Kagan.
I
Before
would.
we take any kind of a vote here, yeah.
Thank you. So I appreciated Senator Washington's comments and I associate myself with her as well. When we dealt with the Tuskegee Airmen, when we've dealt with other folks who are still alive, I think there's an urgency. I think we ought to do this right. And if the House doesn't recede to the multiple, to the more thoughtful version, I think Senator Muse or whomever could bring it back next year, build consensus, work with the African American History Commission that already exists and all that. And let's do this right and not throw it together and feel like we're pressured on the last day of session because the House said so. So I'm going to be voting no on the motion.
Anybody else want to weigh in on this before we take a vote? Sure. Yes, Senator Simon.
Need a majority of the committee to pass it or just a simple majority?
I think, well, we have, you're talking about people passing and that kind of thing, parliamentary inquiry here. I think we need, who's the formal committee parliamentarian here? I think we need 6. Correct. 6 affirmative votes. So if people abstain, they abstain. You need 6 affirmative votes. Correct. An amendment would be a simple majority of those present, but this is an affirmative motion to concur. So you need 6. Everybody understand?
Yep.
Anybody need information before we take a vote?
What is the vote?
The motion would be on the table is to concur with the House amendments.
The original bill.
Right. Which would take it back from a study to a commission. And then also this issue that we had raised about multiple locations, that would be back to the one spot. Senator Washington?
Just again, we had conversations with Senator Buse and he understood the point that we were making, I believe. So
okay,
that was my.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that is true, but what we did not have was that the whole thing was going to die. That was never a conversation that we had. What he said was that he thought this was important and he was willing to see it move forward. Either way, he was comfortable with what was said by the vice chair. He was comfortable with whatever, but he never said, let's not have this study on African-American Civil War soldiers in Maryland. He never said that. And this is what he originally put in as, no, the commission. This is how he originally actually put the bill in. So to suggest that he would not be supportive, no, I'm just putting it out there that he wouldn't be
So
there for that.
there's no need to continue.
What was that?
I said I'm conceding.
Okay, my bad. Sorry.
Okay, I think we've discussed this enough. We have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call, see what happens. You need 6 affirmative votes.
All right, Senator Kagan.
No.
Senator Kagan, no. Senator Augustine.
Yes.
Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Gallion.
No.
Senator Gallion, no. Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young.
Yes.
Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Brooks.
Yes.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza.
Yes.
Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Hester.
Yes.
Senator Hester, yes. Senator Washington. Senator Washington abstains. Senator Simonero.
Abstain.
Senator Simonero abstains. Senator Feldman.
Okay, well, the motion carries with or without my vote, so I will abstain too. And it's 8 to 3 vote affirmative, so the motion to concur. What, I'm sorry, 8 to, okay, let's do this here. I messed this up. What was the count before me? I'm sorry. Okay, 5, 2, 3 coming to me. Okay, I'm gonna go yes. Motion carries. Me bad. Motion to concur. Motion to concur. 6 to 2 to 3 abstentions. Correct.
6. I'm sorry. 6 to 3.
Yeah, 6 votes affirmative, 2 nays, 3 abstentions. Yeah, that would change the outcome. We can't do that. No? Oh, you abstained? Okay. So Sir Washington is a no, so that would make it now 6 affirmative, 3 no, 2 abstentions, correct? Check my math. After that first count, I completely mucked that up.
Yes, that's right.
It's hard to believe I started my career in the CPA world before I went to lawyer world. Good thing. Okay. 6 to 2 to 3.
6 to 3.
6 to 3 to 2. Okay, we got it. 6 yes, 3 no, 2 abstentions. Okay, Alexis, let's go back to Are we still in concurrence mode, actual concurrence?
We are in pre-concurrence mode.
Okay, so
at
we're gonna
this point.
consider a few pre-concurrences. Let's start with, we have Sarah Hester here. One of them is IT bill.
Yes, so
Sarah
that
Hester.
is Senate Bill 982, Information Technology Modernization of Information Technology Projects. This bill, as amended in the Senate, modified funding, project approval, and procurement for information technology modernization projects with an eye towards legacy systems. And it also stated intent language that it's the intent of the General Assembly that responsibility and oversight of these outdated systems be centralized within DO-IT. The House amendments require the Secretary of DO-IT to make a recommendation to the Secretary of Budget and Management that project funds be withheld if a unit of state government is not consistently reporting on the status of projects. The amendments require DGS, Department of General Services, to consult with DO-IT instead of DO-IT being responsible for consulting with DGS and hiring a contractor to assess procurement. The amendments remove the ability of the Secretary of DO-IT to delegate oversight of modernization projects. So again, this oversight is centralized within DO-IT solely. The amendments decrease the frequency for which DO-IT must report on funding required to modernize each legacy system. The amendments delay the date by which DO-IT has to inventory state legacy systems for purposes of modernization. It requires the Joint Audit and Evaluation Committee in consultation with JCCIB to study and make recommendations for statutory and operational changes necessary to address findings of the audits of DO-IT issued by the Office of Legislative Audits on April 2nd, 2024, and the reports to the relevant General Assembly committees is due on or before December 1st, 2024. The recommendation is to concur.
Sarah Hester, do you want to weigh in on this?
There's a lot there. And I think that by adding the requirement that the Joint Audit Committee work with the Joint Committee on Cyber IT and Biotech, along with DO-IT, this interim, we can unpack what was in the audit. And if anything needs to be changed, come back next year. So I would move to concur.
No, it's.
This is a pre-concurrence.
It is a pre-concurrence motion from Sarah Hester, second from Sarah Augustine.
SB 982.
What is it?
SB 982 from Senator Hester. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the concurrence, the pre-concurrence. Okay, any questions for Alexis, for Senator Hester? Okay, all in favor of the pre-concurrence motion, motion to concur, pre-concurrence? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, that pre-concurrence motion carries. And the reason we're doing it this way is the actual paperwork and reading has not yet arrived. We know what's the Senate, the House has done. We just don't want to necessarily have to wait before we take a vote. So this helps us on that regard. The Enough Act, big bill from the governor. We do have similarly a pre-concurrence request on the governor's Enough Act. And what's the bill number? Just so everybody.
SB 482.
Okay, SB 482, the Enough Act.
Yes, Enough Act of 2024 as amended in the Senate. This bill establishes the Governor's Office for Children and the Special Secretary of the Governor's Office of Children for the purpose of administering community-based grants. The House amendments to the Senate bill remove the abundance of the neighborhood implementation and regional implementation grant provisions, and instead requires the Governor's Office for Children to identify and communicate to each local government eligible neighborhoods as defined. So essentially the threshold is 30% of poverty within that locality. In this report, or this identification has to occur each year. After the office identifies an eligible neighborhood, the office is required to engage with the neighborhood and approve a lead partner. Under the original bill, these lead partners were nonprofits or governmental entities. Lead partners may be more expansive under this amended version and may include community action agencies, for example. The lead partner would then receive a grant to complete a needs assessment for an eligible neighborhood. A grant may further be issued to complete and remedy the items that were identified in the needs assessment. The amendments also add to the purpose of the program to include leveraging federal, local, and private funding. It modifies the meetings of the Children's Cabinet and requires the Cabinet to submit the state's 3-year plan for children, youth, and families. The amendments require the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth, and Victim Services to submit a report on neighborhood indicators of poverty by October 1st, 2025, which shall include an analysis of different methods used to calculate indicators of poverty in order to determine eligibility for grant programs under the education article. The recommendation as well on this is to concur.
Any questions for Alexis on the package of amendments that the House, yes,
Definitely will go with the move to concur, and I'm imagining that this was also done in consultation with the administration.
I imagine so.
yeah, I think the answer to that's definitely yes.
Okay, yeah, move to
Yeah.
concur.
Okay, motion to concur from Senator Augustine, second from Senator Washington. Discussion, again, the pre-concurrence motion. Okay, all in favor of the pre-concurrence motion to concur, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. Anything formally before I maybe bring this?
I have one more.
Okay, one more from Alexis.
This may be easy. This is Senate Bill 597, which we amended the cross file on Friday. So this is Human Services Individuals with Disabilities and Service Disabled Veterans Voting Fund. This bill established the Individuals with Disabilities and Service Disabled Veterans Voting Fund in the Department of Disabilities. The House removed the discretionary appropriation language, and we moved favorably on that version of the bill last week. The recommendation on this is to move to concur with those changes.
This is Senator Gazzoni's crosswell.
Yes.
Correct, correct, on the House side. So this would move to concur from Senator Augustine, second from Vice Chair Kagan. I'm sorry, Senator Washington. Okay, we're on Senate Bill 597. Again, this would be a pre-concurrence move to concur on the Gazzoni bill. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. Just anything else is on your list? Dara, do you have anything?
Senate Bill 956, it would be a pre-concurrence as the PFAS bill. The House made a correction to a reference to Comar, changing a to a B. So the recommendation there would be to
This is a technical correction. SB 956, a motion to pre-concurrence on the motion to take that technical amendment. All in favor, all sec, is there a motion? Senator Vice Chair Kagan, second, Senator Hester, all in favor of that, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Dara, what's the other one?
Senate Bill 808, the anaerobic digestion technology bill. The House made an amendment changing the words "not unduly delayed" to "appropriately coordinated." I think there's no real substantive change.
Okay, we have Senator Carozza. Do you want to, again, okay. The case is an advance motion to concur, a pre-motion to concur, motion from Senator Gazzone, Senator Carozza, second. I'm getting a little loopy here today. And Senator Augustine, second. Discussion. All in favor of that motion, raise your hand. All opposed, that carries. Dara, anything else on your end?
That's all I have. On my end.
Okay. One bill that we did take, spend a fair amount of time from Sir Elfrith, the Brighter Tomorrow Act, the solar bill that passed, I think unanimously out of the committee. It's over in the House. They put some amendments on it. It's on I believe on the floor. They voted this morning, but you don't yet know, you're not in a position to explain. Okay, so look, there's a sheet it's hard for me to look at the sheet and know exactly. So I'm a little reluctant to take that up. What I will say is, rather than maybe if it does come over and we know exactly what the amendments are, I may just pull you all off the floor and take it, on something like this. We only have a couple of matters. It might be just easier to do it that way. So once we get a little more information on what the House did to the Senate Bill 783 bill, again, we may concur. I would say we're likely to concur, but I'll just pull us off the floor unless somebody insists on coming back here and having a full blown discussion. Yes, Stacy.
One of those pre-concurrence.
Okay, one more. So we're gonna hold off on 73. We're gonna yield to Stacy. And then one or two other things I want to bring up before we break. Yeah.
This is House Bill 1386, Delegate Atterbury, Education School Employee Anti-Bias Training Requirements. If you recall the Senate amendments, they struck some provisions relating to how the training must occur. The union had put in some discussion about it being job embedded and not during teaching time, and what that was struck for purposes of funding, getting the fiscal note down, and then instruct the non-public school provisions in there. The House and Senate kind of talked about this, and they've agreed to put back the union-specific provision. So this committee would have to vote not to concur and to appoint a conference committee, and a conference committee report would be adopted.
So the recommendation is to move not to concur and set up a conference committee. Okay. Is there, okay, Senator Washington moves to not concur, not concur, or is an action? Yeah. Senator Augustine, second. Any further discussion on this before we set up a conference committee? Okay, all in favor of that motion, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, that motion carries. We'll appoint conferees after we're done here. Okay, any other loose ends? Okay, maybe two final things. We in the power bill, I think we're going to have a conference committee report. The big issue had to do with Chop Tank. We've, I think, reached some compromise language that Chop Tank is comfortable with, and Senator Crozier can certainly check with the Chop Tank folks. And it sort of bifurcates, in effect. It doesn't really bring a Chop Tank fully in. It gives them an opportunity to make the case as to why they shouldn't over a certain period of time. And then the PSC will review like the impact of the costs, the rate impact on ratepayers. So they come in sort of a very small way, but the big issue is they'll have an opportunity to make their case to the PSC. And then at some point in a year from now, PSC will make a decision about whether it's in the interest of Marylanders to have them in or not in. But that is the compromise it's reflected. And I think Chop Tank has said that addresses their concern about the cost, implementation, ratepayer impact, gives them an opportunity to present that case over the next period of time. So anyway, we can talk about it more. I just want to give you a little bit. Well, we have a conference committee report that's signed, and it's going to be presented to this presumably this afternoon in a conference committee report. And that was basically the main differences between the two sides on that bill. Sarah Augustine, I'll just let people have obviously asked me a little bit on SB1. If you want to just, or we're not in a position, we're not there yet. That is still being discussed. So that's still in play. I think those are the big things. And with that, unless anybody has some other things, we can adjourn. And if you're still hungry before session, there's still a lot of stuff in the back room and the big spread. So thanks, guys. I think we'll just play it by ear and keep ears open on the floor, and that's about it.